Spurgeon here with RevZilla, and today I am in northern New Mexico for the first ride review of Kawasaki's 2022 KLR650. There's a lot of people out there saying, well, this is just a KLR650 with fuel injection. It is now a KLR650 with fuel injection, but there's a lot of other smaller calculated changes that Kawasaki has added to this motorcycle, which does make it a different bike from its predecessor. For the fuel injection, for example, it also gets a larger fuel tank to accommodate the fuel pump, and Kawasaki's claiming increased range. From a stability standpoint, it's now a single unit frame. The rear removable subframe is long gone, and it also has increased rake and trail, as well as a longer swing arm, about a little over an inch longer in the rear. And then from a performance standpoint, it gets increased damping on the suspension, as well as a larger front brake rotor, thicker rear brake rotor. It's got handlebars that are rubber damped, foot pegs that are rubber damped, a windscreen that's 2 inches taller, and a more comfortable seat, in my opinion. Now, in addition to all of that, it also has an option for ABS, and there's now a few different KLR650 packages you can go with. There's the base model, which starts off around $6,700, all the way up to the flagship model, which is what I'll be riding, which is the KLR650 Adventure, and that's gonna come in around the $8,000 mark. All of the bikes will still be powered with that lovable 652cc thumper that is going to carry us across the desert. Now, I'm doing things a little bit backwards today. The press launch is already over. Kawasaki gave us a great on and off-road ride. We tackled 425 miles. It's just that 425 miles doesn't seem like enough for a bike with a pedigree like the KLR650. So instead, I'm gonna keep riding. We're gonna take this bike on a road trip back to Southern California, log about another 1,000 miles, and we're gonna talk about how all of that new information translates to how this bike actually rides on the street. Let's go see how this KLR fares on the open road. A lot of the focus of the KLR650's changes were made to improve its all-around street comfort and touring capability. And those changes worked. While vibration from the single-cylinder engine is still present, the rubber dampers added to the handlebar, foot peg, and base of the seat do a much better job masking this than on previous versions. The bike easily cruised to 75 to 80 miles an hour. And even though I'm 6'3", the windscreen did a good job of keeping the wind off my chest, and it didn't cause any buffeting around my head while I had it set in the low position. And that's good, because the windscreen is not easy to adjust. Making any changes would have required some Allen wrenches and a bit of time. Fortunately, Kawasaki did add some creature comforts to this new KLR with the addition of a USB port, which was particularly useful. Besides using it to charge my phone and my comm system, I was actually able to create a little KLR chic charging station for my GoPro batteries on this trip. We're about 250 miles in, and we're hitting our first state other than the state that we started in. So it's about 10:30, and I've gone about 250 miles. We're not making good time, but we're having fun. The 6.5 gallon fuel tank on this KLR650 is technically the same size as the previous generation. However, the previous generation could leave up to about a half a gallon of on-spent fuel in the tank. Kawasaki now claims that this new bike is going to utilize all but a tenth of a gallon of gas. So I was curious, just how far could I ride at highway speeds, loaded down with luggage, before it ran dry? So I just ran out of gas. 287 miles on the odometer. The only downside is I just passed a sign that said next services are 56 miles that way, so I'm gonna need to double back around, but pretty damn impressive. So after the quick fuel detour, I got off the highway and I was happy to find some twisty roads. The changes made to the chassis did their job of adding stability on the street and in the dirt. But the KLR650 still prefers long, sweeping curves, as opposed to tight twisties. It doesn't change direction super easily, but rather it locks into a line and it holds it spot on. While Kawasaki made changes to the brake rotor and added an option for ABS, the new braking system is reminiscent of the old one, which isn't a compliment. While the back brake worked just fine, the front brake has a very wooden feel and it isn't going to slow you down very fast. On the flip side,
The changes that Kawasaki made to the damping and the suspension are an improvement. But it's still a budget-friendly suspension, and you're going to have to play around with the settings to get them to work for you. At 205 pounds, without gear, I initially found that the stock suspension was too soft. Fortunately, the shock is adjustable, and adding 1 click of preload and about a 3/4 turn of rebound damping made a huge difference. The bike felt more planted on the street and much more compliant off-road. Speaking of which, while I'm sure this is going to add some time, it wouldn't be a true KLR650 iron butt ride if we didn't get on some dirt. So let's see how this goes. I don't know exactly how long this is, so it might add more time than I was expecting, but I'm using my own risk. The KLR650 prefers wide dirt roads and 2-track trails to tight winding single track. Overall, it feels planted and balanced off-road, but it doesn't like to change directions quickly. The engine, still very tractor. Power delivery to the rear wheel is predictable, and you never feel like it's going to get away from you. The biggest issue I have with the new KLR650 is the foot peg design. While they do limit vibrations, they offer limited grip while standing, and the new rubber mounts cause them to flex and droop down. So when you're standing on the pegs, you constantly feel like your feet are going to slide off. The other problem I had was that the shift lever sits too low to easily get your foot underneath it while wearing proper off-road boots. When I tried to raise it up, I found that it came in contact with the engine case and wouldn't let me shift into second gear. It just got stuck in neutral. So, back to the lower position it went. For better or worse, the KLR650 is a simple and fun bike to ride off-road. It's the kind of bike that encourages you to explore a little farther than you did the last time you were out, and to do so with such amusement that you might just lose track of time along the way. So I've been riding for almost 2 hours here on Rim Road in Arizona. It's absolutely gorgeous. So many little roads to explore that I haven't had time to hit, and I need to find my way back to the road now because I'm kind of burning daylight, and I got a lot of miles to cover. So let's get back to the asphalt. Should be getting close to the road. Let's get back to rolling. The most talked about change to the KLR for 2022, easily the fuel injection. And it worked flawlessly over a wide range of elevation from nearly 10,000 feet down to sea level. It was great not to have to worry about jetting issues associated with carburation, and the throttle response was still very natural. Overall, I was extremely impressed with the touring capabilities of the new KLR. I ended up riding 1,200 miles over the course of 36 hours, and even in the final miles cutting through Los Angeles, I was still enjoying the bike. Well, I made it. 4 days on the road with the Kawasaki KLR650. I handled interstate, 2-lane blacktop, back roads, dirt roads, and pretty much everything in between. And through it all, even with its weaknesses, the KLR proved to be a fun and entertaining traveling companion. Now, going into this review, I read a lot of folks talking on the internet about the fact that they were disappointed. They were disappointed that Kawasaki didn't turn this into some multi-cylinder proper adventure bike. And while that's something that I would love to see Kawasaki do in the future, I'm glad they didn't give the KLR that treatment. And that's because the KLR specifically isn't a large, fancy adventure bike. Rather, this is an approachable, affordable, dual sport touring machine. This is something that's going to be docile enough for a beginner rider, yet versatile enough for even the most experienced rider out there. This is something that I genuinely had a great time with over the last 4 days. My time with the KLR650 though, it's come to an end. However, your time could just be beginning. So if you want more information on the KLR650, head over to RevZilla's Common Tread where you can read my first ride review. And as always, make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube to keep up with all the content that we have rolling out at RevZilla.com. Thank you for riding along with me on this road trip. I'm Spurge. Enjoy the ride.